Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim. Nghiêm cấm các hành vi lít về rồi bán cho thằng khác. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp xin gửi về Facebook Quỳnh Ngọc Tân.
In this section here, we're going to get organized. Now, this is one of those things in post-production I think is so important and it gets so overlooked. It's really easy, especially when you're in a hurry, to just not worry about renaming things, to not worry about putting things in files and folders, but you'll get yourself in trouble if you don't do it. So let's take a look at why we rename things. Let's say you have a video clip that you shot the other day and the camera labels it video 001. That's fine. It's the first video. You go, sweet. But then let's say a couple days later, you have a new camera card and you shoot something else. And the first video that it takes is video 001. And this kind of goes on anytime that you shoot. Maybe after you have 50 different video shoots, maybe you'll have 50 different files, all with the name video 001. This can be really frustrating if, let's say, you disconnect your hard drive and you plug your hard drive back in later and then Resolve goes, I don't know where your video file is. And you go, oh, that's no problem. What's it called? It's called video 001. Oh, that's super easy. It's just one of the 50 files that I have. Honestly, this isn't a major problem all the time, but I've definitely ran into this a lot over many years of video editing. If your camera doesn't name things with, the date and the clip number and all of those things, because some cameras do, you're going to want to rename it. It's really nice to rename it something that actually makes a lot of sense for what you're doing. So if you're shooting a monster movie, this is the monster movie. Then you rename it with the project name, okay? Monster movie. And then which shoot day it was. This is day 1. And this is the clip 001. Then there is no confusion. There is only one of these that's called Monster Movie Day 1 001. Because guess what? The next day, it's going to be Monster Movie Day 2 001. Your naming convention isn't that important as long as it makes sense to you and it is unique for each file. The other thing I like to do is take any of these clips that kind of group together and actually group them together, put them in a folder. And I like to make a folder for video and a folder for audio generally. So this might be Monster Movie Day 1 video, and then you might have one for Day 1 audio. It takes just a second to do all of this, but it really saves headaches later. The other thing I'd recommend doing is renaming your project files. You start a new project, it's called new project or untitled project, and you just hit OK and you start editing, right? Take 2 seconds and name it something that makes sense. Monster movie. If you're working on a monster movie, call it monster movie. And what I like to do is put a number and a letter behind it. Again, you can use any system that you want, but I like this system because this not only tells me the project that I'm working on, but I like to use the number as like a great big step in what I'm doing. So 1 might be just kind of getting started, doing a rough cut. 2 might be where you're feeling really good and your editing work is almost done. 3 might be effects, 4 might be color, and so on. Those are kind of the great big categories of what you're doing. And then the letter is kind of just each version of it, right? So anytime that I make a decent size change, I like to save a new version. And it kind of ends up looking like this, Monster Movie 2A Fine Cut. And so I'll label this what this version is so that I know later where I was in the process. So 2A is the fine cut, 2B is fixing notes that other people had, 2C is picture lock, like I feel like it visually looks the way it should, 3A might be starting effects. This might seem a little bit crazy to make all of these different project files. Remember, a project file is really, really small. So it's not like you're going to fill up your hard drive with project files. But why make all of these versions? 2 reasons. One is, let's say you make some big change in your project and then you realize, oh gosh, I shouldn't have done that. I really liked how it was before. Well, you could hit Control Z and undo it a bunch of times, but chances are it probably doesn't remember all the steps all the way back to where you want to go. So again, right before I change something big, I like to make a new version. That ensures that I can always go back to the previous version if I don't like this version, and it makes me more confident. I can delete a whole big section of my edit and not have to worry about losing it forever, because if I really, really need it, I can open up this old project and copy and paste that section into my new project. The other really important thing is sometimes a project file can get corrupted. That means that it just won't open anymore. And you know how sometimes like a teacher in school will tell you, hey, make sure to do this just in case, but like it doesn't ever really happen. This literally happened to me preparing for this training. I had stuff all laid out in Resolve, and luckily I was saving versions, and my new version got completely corrupt and it crashed Resolve 100% of the time. And so I would have lost all of my work if I didn't save a version. Luckily, I had saved a version that was just like 20 minutes before, and it saved my tail big time. So do yourself a favor. Not only should you stay organized and rename things, but for the love, make new versions of your projects every time that you change something major. This is something I've had to learn the hard way many, many times. And you have an opportunity to learn it the easy way. Do it.
Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim.